Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. You'll have to excuse me. The sun's zooming in, as the Clash once said, through the blinds. Can you see me? I can just about see you. Anyway, yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome to the weekend, and welcome to an IBF Bantamweight title fight between Ebanie Bridges and Shannon OConnell. This is a fight, an all-Australian dust-up, an all-Australian, well, it's a derby, and it's taking place in Leeds on the Josh Warrington undercard. Now, I don't know what the connection is with Leeds and Ebanie Bridges, because she says, I love Leeds, I support Leeds United. Maybe she's got relatives that live in Leeds. I don't know the story behind it, but this is Ebanie's first defence of her title. I think she's proved herself as a fighter. There's an awful lot of people talk about her because of her her look, you know, and the fact that she has used sex to sell. Sex appeal to sell, I should say. And I just think that you can't deny that she's done that, but at the same time, that doesn't mean she can't fight. She most certainly can fight. She proved that against Shannon Courtney. And yeah, I mean, I like this lady. I like watching her. Against Courtney, she had this horrendous eye injury. Her eye was shut tight, and it was a massive swelling that completely obscured the eye. And she fought through that, and more to the point, she didn't just fight on. She actually tried to win right to the end, and I respect that. I think that's a really she's proved herself essentially. She's proved that she's got guts, and she's proved that mentally, psychologically, she is a real fighter, and she's got some skills too. Now, having said all that, Ebanie's only 8-1, 8 wins and 1 defeat. Defeat was on points. For a bantamweight, even for a bantamweight, she's quite short. She's only 5'1", and she's 36 years of age. And looking back at her career, there aren't many big names on there. Apart from after Courtney, after losing to Shannon Courtney, she fought Beck Connolly, who's fought everyone. Extremely game woman, Beck Connolly goes in there with anyone, but nearly always loses. And Shannon, I was quite surprised that Shannon stopped Beck though, because Beck's tough. She normally goes a distance, and Shannon stopped her in 3 rounds. And she put Connolly on the floor as well in the third on the canvas. But Ebanie then had a fight with a French girl called Maëlys Gangloff, and when I scored that fight live, I had Gangloff winning by a couple of points. And I think a lot of people say to this day, they say, no, Gangloff won that fight. I then watched it back, and I had Ebanie a point ahead. So it's weird. It's one of those fights where I think it could have gone either way. It certainly wasn't a robbery, not for me. Steve Gray gave it to Ebanie 77-76. So it was that close. And I got no problem with people saying it went either way. But to say it's a robbery, I don't believe it's a robbery. But having said that, I thought Ebanie maybe got the rub of the green a little bit in that fight. She then went for a world title fight, the IBF Bantamweight title, and she beat Maria Roman on points. And I think someone had it 190 or 191 or something like that, which I thought was too wide. But the other two, I think it was two pairs or a pair of 97-93s, which I could live with that, yeah. And Ebanie became a champ, and Maria Roman held that title for quite a while. So it's not like Ebanie. Ebanie said, you know, I don't win world titles because of my titties, as she put it. Although I wouldn't like a left hook off one of those comedy balloon boobs. Might end up in intensive care. But yeah, she's got a point. She can fight. She can fight. And in the build-up to this fight against Shannon OConnell, there's been a lot of going backwards and forwards and sideways and up and down. And Shannon's been saying, what is it with women called Shannon that Ebanie's got beef with? I don't know. This is the second one. But Shannon OConnell was saying, you know, I don't like Bridges, the way she conducts herself. I don't like all the using sex to sell your name. I don't like all the lingerie and the plastic tits and the tattoos. Although Shannon herself has got a lot of tattoos, but she called her a skank, I think, and a fat see you next Tuesday. I tell you what, when these women go at it, they really go at it, don't they? Well, I don't think Ebanie's fat. She certainly doesn't seem fat to me, but Shannon ain't having it, and she's saying, I've got kids, you know, and they're teenagers. I don't want my daughter looking up to something like that. And like, look, all this is just piss and vinegar. The point is, you're going to get in the ring and fight, and yes, they are. That's the main thing. So O'Connell, 23 wins, 6 defeats, and 1 draw. And she's been around the Australian scene for a long time, and she's even older than Ebanie. Ebanie's 36, which is, you wouldn't think so, would you? You'd think she was maybe 28, 30, but no. But Shannon's 39. And so after a long, tough career, another 6 defeats, she's been stopped twice. On one occasion, she was knocked flat, and that was actually her last defeat. She got knocked out in 2 rounds by Helen Joseph, and she was knocked out. It was a big left hook, put her flat on the canvas. But since then, she's come on with about 6, 7 wins, maybe more, 6, 7, 8 wins. And the quality of the opposition, at least statistically, has not been bad, because of those 7, 8 wins, whatever it is, 4, I think, have been against undefeated fighters. So Shannon is a throwback fighter mentally, in the sense that, yeah, I've lost the fight, so what? And I've always believed that is the way to conduct yourself. You lose a fight, okay. I mean, you can go to an extreme like Derek Chisora, for example, who loses fight after fight and takes severe punishment. I think at some point you have to say, well, is my health worth it? Is swapping brain cells that are not replaceable, is it worth swapping those for a bit of fame and a lot of money? It's ultimately, it's down to the individual. But I do like the fact that O'Connell has not been put down by defeat. She's always come back, and she's on this excellent run, and I think she's earned her shot at the title. Now, the fact that she's lost 6 times, even though she's won 23, she's lost 6 times, twice by stoppage. I wouldn't say that necessarily puts Ebanie in the driving seat for a stoppage, because Shannon has fought in the past women that are 5, 6, 7 pounds more. In other words, a different weight division to Ebanie. Ebanie, if you look at her, 5'1", she makes bantamweight easy. She's not a big woman at all. Even, I mean, height doesn't necessarily denote that you're a big person, but she's got quite a slight frame. And Shannon on the scales looked the bigger woman, clearly the bigger woman, not just taller but broader back, bigger limbs. I think in terms of physicality, if I was Ebanie, I wouldn't be looking to get into some wrestling match, some scrap up close and personal. 10 2-minute rounds probably does always favours a slicker fighter, and will probably favour Ebanie. But Shannon, although she's been on the floor, I mean, not just the Helen Joseph fight, but she also lost an 8-rounder. And I can't remember the name of the lady's name. Sandy something. I can't remember the girl's surname. Sandy. Nah, it's not going to come to me. But she lost an 8-rounder, and she was on the floor. O'Connell was in the first minute, and she got up, fought back, but she was taking a bit of a beating, and then she floored Sandy Watsit quite heavily, and Sandy was in trouble. She was not. It wasn't just a flash knockdown. When she got up, she was wobbling, but she survived, and she ended up outpointing Shannon OConnell. That is a fair result, but it does show character from O'Connell, because she was taking a walloping. She hung in there, she came back, and she did very, very well. She fought very courageously and with a great deal of fortitude, and almost pulled it out of the bag. So she can be hit and hurt, Shannon OConnell, but I wouldn't write her off. And of her 23 wins, 11 are by KO, which in the women's game is quite a high proportion. O'Connell at times can look a little, from what I've seen of her, I haven't seen that many of her fights, but she can look a little bit sluggish early on. Maybe it takes her a few rounds to get her engine going. She tends to push her punches, and when she throws her right hand, sometimes I've noticed that it can be a little bit amateurish. So I would say that, especially with the work she's done with Mark Tibbs, Ebanie Bridges is on it. She's improving, certainly improving, and becoming sharper, and having sharp punches. Usually, unless you're Joe Joyce, and all he does is club you to death, but having sharp punches is nearly always a virtue in a boxing ring, because the sharpness means that the opponent won't always know when they're coming at them. There's no sort of warning sign. It's that trigger thing where you pull the trigger and suddenly the punch is there. Whereas someone like a Joe Joyce is more clubbing. I would say Ebanie has the sharper punches. Footwork wise, I favour Ebanie. I think she likes a row, Ebanie. She likes to get up close and have a good old punch up. But it looks to me like she can fall into a trap, like she did against Gangloff, of wanting the punch up and allowing the opponent to box more, subconsciously allowing the sort of opening the door for the opponent to step in and start using her skills. And again, with the 2-minute rounds and only 10 of them, if you fall into that trap, it can be difficult to come back and sort of switch your tactics and move up a gear. There isn't a lot of time to get your work done. 10 2-minute rounds is 20 minutes of boxing, right? Which is only 2 minutes more than the men's 6-rounder. So, first of all, can Ebanie stop Shannon? I think it's unlikely. I think Shannon is battle-hardened. She's a bit of a warhorse. 39, probably coming towards the back end of her career. Has had a tough life as well. Mentally, she's battle-hardened through life, not just gym wars, sparring sessions, and professional boxing matches. I mean, her mother was a heroin addict who died. I think was her father killed? Did I read her father was killed when she was quite young? So she's had it tough, and she was going down the wrong path. She openly admits it when she was a teenager. 20 years ago, she was going down the wrong path. But she's got kids, which if you've got kids and you know anyone who has got kids, you'll know that that's an ordeal in itself. That tough a job in itself. If you do it the right way, of course. Some people don't give a fuck about their kids and they let them go, but O'Connell is not one of those people. She's got some moral fortitude. So all that stuff, all that life experience for which there is no substitute, even though it's not boxing related, goes towards hardening you up mentally. And I think that's probably one aspect as to why Shannon OConnell has been able to come back from previous defeats and go on this long winning run, defeating previously undefeated fighters along the way. I think it was 4 of them as well. So who am I going to go with? I would pick... I think the most likely scenario is that Ebanie Bridges wins this on points in a tough fight. Might even be a split decision or a majority. I think it will be controversial in the sense that the loser will probably say, I don't agree with that decision. I don't think it will be a robbery, although if Ebanie does get that close one, people will inevitably say she's aligned to DAZN, it's biased, she's hometown cooking and all the rest of it. And then that debate will be had, and then we'll move on like we always do. But I think that, or at least I make the favourite. I think the favourite is Ebanie. I think it's most likely she will win on points by maybe a couple of points. So I don't know, 96, 94, something like that. You might have the odd drawn round in there. It wouldn't surprise me if Shannon OConnell pulled off the upset. Wouldn't surprise me at all. It wouldn't surprise me even if it did look like the decision was very controversial. It wouldn't surprise me if I watched this fight live and I had Shannon ahead by a couple of points, and then they give it to Ebanie. And I'm thinking, don't agree with that. In terms of who can hurt who the most, I think it's more... I don't think either women will be seriously hurt in this fight. I think it might... I don't think it will be necessarily much of a boxing match. I think they will get up close and personal. They do have that sort of out-of-the-ring beef. I think Shannon's come here to prove a point. She's in someone else's backyard. But like I say, getting back to the mental fortitude, this is a tough lady. So I think probably Ebanie edges it on points, but in a bit of an up-close and personal tussle. But I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure whether either woman can... Even though Shannon's been hurt before, it's by much bigger women and much more powerful, physically powerful women than Ebanie. But I think Ebanie might outwork her. I think, yeah. So I'm going for Bridges on points. What do you think? Let me know. And yeah, thanks for your time as always. Good boxing ahead this weekend. I'm going to be doing some more videos. Like the video if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. That really helps us out a lot. And of course, have a great weekend. We shall speak again soon. In the meantime, take care and bye for now.